Leap of Faith podcast fans. Welcome to this week's episode with yours truly, Randy Silver. As a friendly reminder, the Leap of Faith is about overcoming adversity, hardships, learning new things in your daily life, bringing people on to this podcast so you understand what you can do to be successful just like they were. Thank you so much for all my listeners, as we do every week. To my loyal listeners, you all are the best. Loft Gang, Ride and Die. However you listen, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all the good. Thank you so much. As a friendly reminder again, please try to go to the YouTube. I have all the videos on there of the podcast, of the speaking. I do so much with it. I have marketing clips. I have vlog videos that come out. I have workout videos. So please do go subscribe to Leap of Faith on YouTube. It would mean a lot to me, and I appreciate your help. With that being said, I have my guest, Denise Ropp, on this week. Denise is a health and well-being advocate. She is the founder of Owning You, and she's a speaker. Why do I have Denise on? What's the value she will provide this week? Denise is someone who reached out to me on the website Podit, where you can find interviewees, and we talked about mindfulness and meditation. You all know this is a huge subject in my life, something that I talk about with many different guests. So I wanted her to come on to talk about how you can use mindfulness and meditation in your personal life, but more importantly, in your workplace, especially as we all have been dealing with the pandemic, working remotely, all that's going on. It's a great way for you to be able to keep your mind, body, and soul healthy. In addition to that, Denise helps clients with resilience, nutrition, exercise, personal coaching, and allows them to help to learn, transform, and sustain their life in a new healthy lifestyle. Different subjects that we've covered. So Denise definitely fits the mold of the Leap of Faith and helping you become a better self. But that being said, I want to bring Denise in. Denise, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Randy, it's great to be here.
Do you feel like I missed anything, or was that a good synopsis of what you have achieved?
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. You covered a lot, and you did talk a lot about how I really focus on integrating a lot of things. So
yeah. Denise, what made you want to come on Leap of Faith podcast today?
You know, Randy, I had taken a look at several of the episodes that you had, and what was really obvious to me was your guests they're very authentic. They're real. They provide skills, everyday skills that people can actually apply, and they really love what they do, which is so important. And like I said, it's easy to apply the information they actually give. But more importantly is that, you know, your heart really comes through and it really shines, and this is really your passion. And it's obvious, and that makes your guests obviously feel much better and able to respond to you. But as far as the fans are concerned, I'm pretty sure that they can see it too. and you're awesome. So keep doing it.
Thank you so much. Loft fans, you guys are the best. All my guests are the best. Thank you, everybody out there. I appreciate it. So I think a good place to start is, I think I gave a good background. Do you just want to quickly, 1 minute, just give the audience overview so we're invested in Denise?
Yeah, so my background is I was a registered nurse for a long time. And I worked in all kinds of areas across the country. But where I spent most of my time was in occupational health. I really worked with employers and employees and saw a lot of what the stresses and strains that go with being both an employer and an employee. And so that was a big part of my life. And what I really valued in that is I learned a lot about prevention. The main goal is not to get sick in the first place, not to, have a healthy lifestyle, to be able to run your life so that you aren't too stressed out from work. You're not too stressed out from what's going on at home, and you're able to continue on. And that often meant combining a whole lot of things together. It's not just about one magic pill. It's not just about one magic exercise. It's about doing a bunch of things together. And so I was able to really see that and hone that. And that's part of it, where the dream came from and where the whole idea of bringing together the clinic So I did retire from being a registered nurse, but managed to stay in the healthcare system because I now own this clinic that's in a full integrated clinic. So it's we do combine all of that and make it so that people can actually transform and actually take control of their life.
I absolutely love that. That makes me so happy to hear. In a long story short, you basically give a holistic life view for people to be able to practice in their life how to be, have that serenity to feel good at their workplace and in their personal life.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
if someone came to you and they said, "Hey, I feel out of touch. I feel like there's something wrong." What's kind of the first couple things that you would try to ask questions to figure out what's going on? Or what are some of the techniques that you provide?
So the first thing we do is we do talk about getting in touch with themselves. So we really need to ask them questions about, who are you? What do you do? What are the things that are stressing you out? What are your practices around being able to draw boundaries from, work or from family or, what are the things that are really stressing you out? And the other thing that we talk a lot about is then we'll step into the whole mindset idea. And how are you looking after your mental health? How are you putting space? Because, you know, we 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 stress our bodies by the work that we do, the play that
Mm-hmm.
we have, just living life on a daily basis. And then there's a whole lot of other things in there from just a physical perspective,
Mm-hmm.
but our bodies and our minds in particular don't know the difference between being stressed out from working really hard and having some sort of emotional situation going on,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's financial or health or family relationship, whatever it happens to be. So you really need to be able to reconnect with your body. And so some of that just means, sitting down and tell me tell me what's going on for you in your body. And I do know a lot of people that have no clue. They're like, I feel fine.
Yeah.
I don't have pain. Really? And you're sort of, they're walking like, no, they got pain. Like,
Yeah, they got it bent over back. They're like, "No, I'm just carrying all this stress. I'm not in pain. Don't worry about it."
totally fine. I'm fine. Not a big deal. We all call it stoic, and we think that it's a good virtue. Well, yeah, no, but you're not looking after yourself. You're not looking after your body. You're not looking after your mind, and you're not really connected.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that if you're trying to be there for the people in your life, if only for yourself, if you're not connected, you're not going to be you're not going to be authentic. You're not going to be there for yourself. You're not going to be providing your best self for you to make clear decisions or be able to move the way you want to move.
I agree.
um,
Mind,
you know,
body, soul. I talk about that all the time. Is making sure you have to have that equilibrium going.
That's right. So you actually have to take time and place it into your life. It has to be part of what you do every day. Whether you get up, like I get up 5:30 every morning, and I spend the first 90 minutes of my day focused on um, getting my getting myself into a mindful place, into and doing meditation, and then also getting just this thought straight in my head of what I'm going to do throughout the day. And that sets me up for having a good day, sets
Mm-hmm.
me up for having, making good choices, for being there not only for myself, but for the people that I work with, my partner, my family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually able to be there with them and respond to what they need, as well as to be able to get what I need. So
And
it's important.
and have you noticed that throughout the pandemic that you've had an uptick in people who haven't been able to be in that equilibrium because of all the different, stresses going on?
The whole that, yeah, the mental health issues and the stresses and the strains have been unbelievable. We have seen, because they just don't know.
Yeah.
Like I was doing a video the other night, and I was talking about whole food. And what really hit me with that one was it suddenly dawned on me that most of us have grown up with as latchkey kids. So, both our parents worked, so we had to figure out how to cook for ourselves. We had to let ourselves in. We had to
Yep.
do all those kinds of things. But we might not have learned some pretty basic skills. One of them being how to cook. But also, if we've got parents that are out there working and they came home, they were probably stressed, probably tired, it's probably unlikely that they sat down and did some meditation or got up early in the morning and did some meditation before they left. So these are skills that weren't necessarily taught. So people are floundering. In other areas of the clinic, I have lots of people coming in with exactly those situations where they're just, now they've got anxiety or they've got depression or, things have just spiraled out of control, and they really need to have a skill to be able to teach them what to do. Or they start to feel one of the big things is people will start to feel like a victim. Like they're disempowered, they're disenfranchised. So they start feeling victimized. And that means that they've actually got a locus of control that's outside of their body. And but that's not where you actually have your control. Your control is internal. So you can actually make it so that you have an internal locus of control where you get to choose how you're going to respond to the various stimuli that come at you. But you need to practice it.
And it's funny you bring that up because Lindsay, who came on from Get Psyched a couple of weeks ago, she's a therapist, and she said the same type of thing, that the mental health awareness has become so apparent inside of the pandemic, and this as we get out of it. I've been talking about mental health for years and making sure that you keep it as healthy as you can. And it feels like it's still almost taboo that mental health isn't a disease, or mental health isn't something you should take seriously. I think now we're starting to get to a better place, but it still feels like that it's something that you can't talk about or something people don't want to talk about. What would you say about that?
So I would say it's in the questions you ask. So and not necessarily to yourself, but if you're reaching out to somebody, and we've done this in our clinic, where we'll reach out to somebody and we'll start asking them, how you doing? Oh yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, that's not a big deal. When was the last time you were out? And they have to stop and think about it. Or you say, well, who was the last person that you came in contact with, or you saw, or came over and visited? And they're like,
no idea.
They can't think about it, or it's been 2 weeks or whatever. And so when you start asking deeper questions, or even asking simple things, but pointed things, do you have enough food in your fridge? Do you have, is there enough funds in your bank account to pay for your mortgage? When you start asking those kinds of questions, they're very pointed.
Yeah.
And the answers come very, very quickly. You either do or you don't. And you either need that stuff delivered or not. And I remember one of our nurses reached out to one of our patients, and he hadn't talked to anybody in a month. It
really
was
no other human interaction.
No, he hadn't had, because he was so scared. He was so scared to open the door. He was scared to answer the phone. He was scared to do all kinds of things. And it was just his level of anxiety. But when he saw our call identification come up, he picked up the phone, because it was a doctor's office. It was a clinic. So it was that kind of thing that made him pick up the phone. But nobody had actually reached out to him. And so his thing was, oh, thank goodness, somebody I can talk to. Okay, so, but we don't know yet. Like we're on a very different kind of relationship. But that was kind of a big heads up. That is happening out there all over the place, where people they don't know what to do. They've been left. They've been told not to do these things. So they sit down and lock up and then who
And
knows?
yeah, and I mean, obviously, we're seeing a lot of stuff happening in the U.S. personally. A lot of gun violence is happening again. Not saying that it's a byproduct, but it's definitely something where you have all these stresses, and people get to a point where, for them, there's no return. And hopefully, God forbid, you don't go shoot a gun up or anything like that. But like, you'd make decisions because you feel like you're in a place where you have no other decision to make. And I think that's what we're trying to get at in this conversation.
Exactly. That's because they're seeing themselves as a victim out here and not seeing where they could actually do things about their own mental health. And
Mm-hmm.
some of it is as simple as, when people get anxious, their breathing comes to about here. So their shoulders may go up and down because that's where they're breathing. But they're really, when we're needing to engage those relaxation components, we need to start breathing deeper. We need to
Mm-hmm.
get the breath right into our belly. And interestingly enough, from an anatomy point of view, there's two, if you want to look at it, two channels of basic nerves that run through the body. They
Okay.
run very close together. One is the sympathetic nervous system, and the other one is the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is all about that fight or flight, getting out there, moving our muscles, getting away from the big bad tiger. That doesn't exist anymore. But, and then we've got the parasympathetic nervous system, which is all about healing and relaxation and bringing our body's systems back to homeostasis, back to a good balance. And the neat thing about them is that at one point, just at the bottom part of our ribs here, they pass by the diaphragm. And they actually can trigger the diaphragm. And when they trigger the diaphragm, if it's the SNS that triggers it, it's going to increase your breathing rate. But if you breathe deep enough, you can physically get your parasympathetic nervous system to actually kick in. So because you rub it, just you hit it there. So you can actually get them to be, people can actually flip themselves into a much better state where they're more relaxed, just using deep breathing. And having worked with a lot of people, they would come in workplaces in particular, and they would be, I am having a heart attack. Okay. So are you having a heart attack? So I start doing an assessment on them and then I get them, the first thing I got them to do is, can you breathe with me? And if you can breathe nice and deep in with me and do this a little bit, maybe we'll make the heart attack better anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe if it's a panic attack, then we can stop it just by doing the deep breathing, right? So you start doing that, and just getting that happening, the body starts to normalize. It starts to go into a balanced state, which is what you want.
I agree. I think that, I mean, obviously you're a great guest. You're so knowledgeable. And this is a good segue to mindfulness and meditation is, a lot of people ask me about meditation. Like, I've never done it. I sit here for 5-10 minutes. Like, I don't feel anything. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into meditation. Love for you to give your take on, what is meditation in the practice and how it can help beneficially in terms of your health.
So a lot of people have a real misunderstanding about what it is. They like to think that, you want to sit down and make your mind blank. Okay, no. It's very difficult, and you don't necessarily want it to be blank. You want to have some awareness about what's going on. You just want to be entirely focused. And John Kabat-Zinn, who is a great meditation guy, he actually talked about, what you're trying to do is envision yourself as if you were sitting in a cave, and you're looking out onto this very busy street, and you're watching the end of this cave where people are walking by. And normally, in a state of high awareness, you'd be going like, following the people as they pass by. But the whole idea behind meditation is to become so focused that you see them, and you're aware of them, but you're not really aware of them. Mm-hmm. So a red hat could go by and you wouldn't follow it. Whereas if you were in a state of higher awareness, you would, oh, it's a red hat, right? Mm-hmm. So the idea is just to get to a state where you are very much aware of what's going on around you, but you are internally focused. Yep. You're entirely focused on, where your heart is. And lots of times I'll start introducing people to the heart math techniques. And that's really where, if you get them to sit down, because a lot of people who haven't done it before find it difficult. And we are a society where we want things fast. So the heart math technique can actually move people into a situation where they'll get positive results within 3 minutes. So
interesting.
It's a great way to start, because they can actually go, I can feel the relaxation. And all they have to do, so they just have to sit down, ideally feet flat on the floor. They can lie on a bed if they want, but sometimes that flips you from the, high awareness into sleep, as opposed to, just being aware of what's going on, which is, sleep may be necessary, but that's not what we're trying to accomplish here. So just, if they sit down and they literally put their hands on their chest and they start taking a deep breath and they become aware of their heart. And it's almost as if they can envision their heart breathing. So as they sit there, they can close their eyes, they can leave their eyes open, doesn't matter. They get a good understanding about, okay, there's my heart, I can feel my heart. There's a real awareness around my heart, and I'm going to breathe in, and my heart's going to breathe in, and then it's going to breathe out. And as it brings in all the lovely good oxygen that it needs for nourishment. And then when you let it all out, it goes out, and it just goes out to the rest of your body, spreads out to the rest of your body, right down to your, the tips of your toes, and, the tips of your fingers as well. And you do that for maybe 10, 12 breaths. And then what you want to do is actually start to think of an emotion could be joy, could be love, could be awe. So something that is what we call a higher emotion. And it's just, you want to think that, and you want to put that emotion right into your heart at the same time as you're doing this breathing. And so my favorite one, when I'm doing it, I have a memory of my daughter when she was 18 months old or something. She was walking around learning how to do those plant squeegee, the mister, right? Yeah. So she was actually playing with it, and she did this, and she squeezed, and of course sprayed herself in the face. And so my moment of joy, or my moment of awe, really is the giggle that came out of her at that particular point in time, because it was just so pure joy.
Pure bliss. Yeah.
Pure bliss that came out of her. And I, of course I started giggling at the same time, and she just thought that was even better. So now she's squirting it more. But what that does is it really lightens my heart. Mm-hmm. It really makes a shift. So I'm engaged my body in a deeper breathing, and better oxygenation, better, creating those states of homeostasis, I've actually started to feel my heart participate in that it's breathing in and it's breathing out. Breathing in and spreading that homeostasis all over my body. And then now I bring in the other higher emotion. Get into that state, and it literally, most people are able to do that. Kids are able to do that. You can teach this to little kids, 5, 6 years old. They get it. They know how to do it. Oh, I can do that. I can feel my heart. I can feel my, and it automatically just starts to bring people back to that state. And then if you repeat that, you can naturally lengthen it out and get to a point where, over 10 years, you're doing it for, well, how long do you do your meditation for?
I usually go for between 25 minutes to 45. I've never really tried to go over an hour. I think I probably could at this point, but I really like to do it in between work, like at lunch. I'd rather take a shorter eating lunch and just do it in the middle of my day to bring myself back to center.
Yeah, that's a perfect time to do it, because it brings you back to center. It starts you off again. You're in a good place. You're balanced. You've let go of a lot of the things that might have been nagging at you during the day. So it's perfect.
Yeah. And but mad respect to you to getting up early to do it. I prefer my sleep. I like to sleep in a little bit more than that. To take it to what you said is like, whenever I feel my blood boiling, or something at work is stressing me out and my personal life is stressing out, I don't even need to go for 25, 40 minutes. Like you said, I just need to go for 3 minutes. I tell people, and people will see me leave a party or like leave the beach and just go sit by myself and just sit there for 3 minutes and just calm myself down. I never get too high and I never get too low, because I've been able to train myself to stay at that middle point and not ever let myself get to the point where I'm ever too stressed or ever feel like I'm too down the dumps, because I can get myself back to middle.
Yeah. And you want to do this, and it's great. Giving yourself the permission to go off and find a spot where you're alone. Number one, that's a big thing that many people don't see as being an opportunity. But that is establishing those boundaries and being able to say, you know what, I need to do that. Here's the thing. All bathrooms have doors. There's ones that they have the stalls, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping you from going into the bathroom and being in there for 3 minutes. Nobody's going to bother you for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's
if they are, then there's a reason why, and you don't want to be in that type of bathroom.
Exactly. So those are things that people can do if they can just give themselves permission to go off and allow themselves to calm down. What I see a lot of is people don't give themselves permission to react a different way. So we have to remember that part of understanding meditation and mindfulness really is, you're going to get stimulated by stuff coming at you, and the stuff is going to come at you, and there's a moment in time where you get to make a choice as to how you're going to react.
Yep.
And the great benefit about mindfulness and meditation is that it actually allows you that opportunity. It actually shows you that space where you can go, okay, I see the stuff coming in at me. I'm going to choose to not react negatively to it, or I might want to react with some great positivity and some high fives, that kind of thing. But it gives you that moment and that ability to recognize, and if you practice it over a period of time, being able to call upon it at stressful moments, right? Where you're able to go, I need to go for a minute, or I just need to take a deep breath, close my eyes, and just go, now I can make that decision. Now I can make that reaction.
I love that. And like that's exactly how I am now. Like whenever I get news that sometimes would make me blood boil or like deal with like raising my voice, I just find myself taking a deep breath and I'm able to handle it in a much more mature situation. And people have always said, like, Randy, like, how do you deal with that? Like, here's a great example. I was on the podcast last night as a guest, and I was talking about someone calling me fake on Clubhouse and saying that like everything I was talking about was disingenuous and not real. I could have reacted two different ways. I could have either said like "f you," like "what the heck," why you call me out in front of 1,000 people, and I said, sir, I respect your opinion. Please go to my LinkedIn. Everything I'm talking about, like I feel like I have knowledge about, and it's true. And then someone went to my LinkedIn and raised their hand and said, hey, you know what? He's right. Everything he's talking about is legit. Like he's not faking it. And that person then, by just the power of me being a calm person and manner and just having the confidence in myself, was then put into the doghouse a bit. And I didn't have to raise my voice or create a scene, which if I would have, it would have just proved his point.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what you want. And we've, in particular, in this situation that we're in with the pandemic, we have a lot of people who are taking steps that are they're agitated. They really are.
Yes.
They're anxious. They don't know what to do. They're not responding in ways that they might have responded under much more normal circumstances. So it does allow us the opportunity to just slow down. And I was on a phone call yesterday with a gentleman who I would have thought would have reacted to a situation that we were in a much more professional manner.
Mm-hmm.
And my choice was to step back and go, I am not going, and I actually said to him, I don't think this is a good way to actually move forward on this particular issue. And what I think we need to do is move forward in a different way. So can we, it allowed me to step back. He still remained in a heightened state of just being anxious and concerned. And he was literally being dragged into a situation that he shouldn't have been dragged into. And that made him very uptight. And he was also in a situation where there were orders coming out and he was not, he wasn't happy about that because, where are my kids, where's my house, what's going on? So a lot of anxiety there, but just being able to step back and say, I am not going to react by being dragged into that. Mm-hmm. My situation is I'm seeing this as different. I see a solution and this is the way I'd like to go. Yep. And it ultimately created a much better outcome than it would have been had I, just jumped in and gone with the whole, it was nasty, he said, she said stuff. And it was just like, you don't want to go there.
Never turns out well.
It never does. It's never gonna work. So being able to take that step back just because you've trained yourself, there you go. There's the beauty in what you've been doing.
I agree. I think that's a good segue into kind of the final act here of the podcast is we talked about, some of the stresses people have. We talked about the ways you can mitigate it. So now the final act would be actually enacting it. And so what are some things, and I'll start with what I've done, that people can do in their daily life to, get mindfulness meditation or different stresses built into their day? When the pandemic first happened, I sat my team down. Of course, it was all virtually. And I gave them a presentation of 10 things I want you to do. And then what I asked them, and this was 25 people worldwide, was I want you to build lunch into your schedule. I want you to block off your calendar so you take your lunch. I want you to build an afternoon and morning break, just like you would go get coffee or whatever. You go to the water tank that for whatever reason, you know what I'm saying? Build that into your day. I want you to try to read this book around meditation. So you start doing it. So I was trying to build what could be built into their day to have them feel at that homeostasis and not be stressed. Now, I'm sure not every manager is as forward-thinking as me, tap on the back, things like that. But, what can an individual do themselves to try to build stuff in their day to make sure that they keep themselves at a good point?
Well, obviously there's a lot of different, if you can adjust your environment in some way, if
Hmm.
you can make your workstation someplace that you can literally turn off, or close up or close a door, or those are always great. So if you can literally 5 o'clock comes, done, close the door, I'm out of here. Even if it means you've created a space in it. One of my friends created a space in her walk-in closet. That was her.
Oh, wow. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. So it was at the end, so she was able to get all of her, the network and that kind of thing in this particular spot. So, but she made it at the end of her walk-in closet so that she could literally walk out, and that's where she did her living outside of there. So that was helpful. So if you can actually create something like that, that's wonderful. Or create a corner even in your workspace, where in your house where you can.
If you're looking at the YouTube, I got my bed right
There we
there. So
go.
I got my corner. I got the outside. I got the bed.
Yeah. As long as you've got some way to actually shut it down at nighttime, or when so that you can actually walk away. Now you can walk away because you're not going to spend all of your time unless you're living in a studio apartment.
Hmm.
You're able to actually walk out. And that is a challenge for a lot of people. Not only building in, this physical space and the time, and I love all of your ideas.
Thank you.
So important. And the other thing is to, call people out on it. Get them to, check. You can check and make sure that, so are you off on lunch? You can do those kinds of things.
Hmm.
You need to be someplace else, um, so that you're away from work.
Yep.
Physically, also doing, can you get out and do walking? Because walking meditations are awesome.
Yep.
Where you can, and taking advantage of the nature around you, whether it's a park or a trail that you can walk on, or those kinds of things, and actually again just be able to meditate as you walk along. That's a cool experience to have, because they're in your awareness is there. You have to be aware of what's going on around you, but you're just focused on being clear,
Hmm.
keeping the body, keeping the back straight, keeping those kinds of things happening. Um,
Just to quickly interject, I think that's a really good point that you made there. Is people think meditation is like hum bitty bitty bum bum, and you're like not there. Like when people say, "Well, how do you do when you meditate?" I use as a time to myself. So maybe my brain's going 1,000 miles. I'm thinking, but I don't have my phone connected. I'm not talking to people. I'm not focusing on it. It's just me giving time back to my day. And that's kind of what you said there. Is just giving yourself the time to you. And I always feel better after that because I don't have all these other vices around me.
the other thing too, that there's different kinds of meditation. So people can do a meditation where they're listening to music. Some
Yep.
people listen to nothing. Some people need a guided meditation. And then there's different kinds of meditation when it comes to, are we doing types of meditation that involve, parts of our body, or are we doing visualization kinds of meditation? So there's a lot of different opportunities out there. And I know for myself and for people that I've known that some, it's really, they need to be doing a different kind of meditation. They just haven't found the one that works for them.
Yep.
So whether maybe, there are people that it does work, where they're sitting and they're coming to themselves, and transcendental meditation itself is a very effective form of meditation. But it's not for everybody. It's
Yep.
not, so just like aspirin isn't for everybody, nothing,
Right.
we need to find the thing that's going to work for us. So one of the things, if I can give any kind of advice, is be open. Be open to other solutions and other people. I know, I mentioned John Kabat-Zinn. He's made a ton of CDs, so you can probably find him in your local library. Joe Dispenza, who's on the West Coast here. So John Kabat-Zinn is on the East Coast, and Joe Dispenza is here on the West Coast. Again, a different type of meditation. Got lots of free stuff on YouTube, and or you can go and see if the library's got it. I know that you can purchase them really, really cheaply. So there's lots of different. Deepak Chopra's got stuff.
He's awesome. He's awesome.
There's lots of places that, or even the app. So Calm.
Love Calm.
The Calm app.
I have an app called Mindfulness. It's just like you get guided meditation. It's perfect.
Yeah. So using those and being open and curious about what's going to work for you. What is going to get you into that place where you feel that you are being balanced again, where you actually feel that moment of bliss, or that moment where you just feel like like you're just feeling really good. So those kinds of things, go and get them.
Go and get them. And again, if you need help, there's people out there to speak to who want to help you. So people like Denise, if they have more questions, where can they find you?
They can contact me at whitecedar.com. There's a book an appointment, and you can book a call with me, a clarity call under the Owning You page, and more than happy to connect with people and just give them different ideas about how they can take control of their health, how they can actually make a difference and transform their life. It's a journey. It's not a one and done thing. Yep. And there's lots of things that can be done. It's finding the right thing for you.
Awesome. And you can go to her website, or just go to the bio and YouTube, and you'll be able to click it. Apple, Spotify, just go to the details. You'll see it there. Denise, thank you so much for being on. If there was one final key takeaway from everybody that you would want them to leave today with, what would that be?
That they really do have the power to take control of their life and get it back and live the life that they want to live. And it just, lots of times just means stopping, taking a breath, and getting inside and figuring out who you are, where you want to go.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that takes you back to being authentic self, is when you're in true with yourself, your mind, your body, your soul, your equilibrium, you're just going to live a de-stressful life, a happier life. If you get to a point where you feel like you need different practices, that's where you can use mindfulness, meditation, or other techniques out there to help you get back to the equilibrium. And you've done a great job of explaining everything in the whole gambit about how we can do it. So I appreciate you coming on today.
No problem. Thank you. It's my pleasure, Randy.
Awesome. So this is the Leap of Faith podcast with yours truly, Randy Silver. Please do rate, subscribe, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, however you're listening to. Thank you so much. It means so much. Denise, we're going to go ahead and do the sign off. So I would like you to repeat after me. Stay healthy.
Stay healthy.
Stay wealthy.
Stay wealthy.
And have a good week, fans.
And have a good week, fans.
Deuces. Bye, everybody.